Well, good evening, everyone. I'm going to talk fast, I hope. Try and get as much out as I can. I've been absent all this summer, as many of you probably noticed. I left Canada at the end of June. I've had some personal things I've had to tend to ensure that I can easily return to Colombia as a resident. Anyway, that's all out of the way. I'm sitting down in the southeastern United States area right now. Just spent yesterday under the shadow of the moon watching the eclipse. So anyway, next week I'll be returning back to Canada. Tonight it's about 33, 34 degrees, high humidity. So this is going to be a rather informal video, as you can tell. No suit. I wish even no t-shirt, maybe a little bit of sweat on the forehead. So anyway, I haven't had the opportunity to say much or do much online simply because of a lack of an internet connection. So I'm taking advantage here now tonight and just going to do this video, bounce around a little bit with the laptop on my arm as I sit outside in the evening. So daily we're watching what's happening in Canada, and really all we're doing is a whole lot of complaining and a little bit of action on social media about the erosion of once was a nation called Canada. I've never before seen such a division in Canada, and I'm sure many others haven't either. Our debt has already reached where it's going to require more than 40 years to repay. Again. And thanks to another Trudeau. Again. Each day, Canada adds almost 78 million new dollars to the debt. So let's put that in perspective. Canada is spending about $3.2 million an hour on money that they don't have. Who's going to pay that? Well, according to Trudeau, it'll fix itself. Our citizen demographics are being altered unnaturally. I believe the word of the day now is irregular at our borders. There's a new one for us. Quebec is going to fail to be a distinct society. I would say within the next, I want to say 2 years, let's say 3 years, Quebec as we know it is no longer going to exist. That's too bad. I like Quebec. I've met many other people. I've talked to many. We have a strong bond, and I've talked on this before, and I will be talking on it more again. There's people who've worked all their lives, and they're going to continue struggling in their senior years, and they're going to have to watch as our government gives more money to irregulars coming across the border, who in their own words and beliefs wish us harm. I wish somebody could tell me how that makes sense. Canada is falling in respect and economic standings in the world today, and we do nothing. We complain, but that's it. Our pseudo-prime minister, he's forgotten about the West, both in name and aid. Wasn't that long ago? He forgot all about Alberta when he was listing the provinces. Recently, he's forgotten about BC when they needed help with their fire situation. It's a shame. In Alberta, our tax money, our resource money, is going to terrorist nations, and now, in fact, even terrorists themselves. I was in the Midwest here in the U.S. several weeks ago when that money was paid out, that $10 million. It was not a good time to be here. I've traveled extensively for years. I have friends in many different countries. This was the first time ever in all my travels I was embarrassed to say I was a Canadian. And more so here in the U.S. All my friends asked me what was going on. It was tough. It really was. Today we see Ottawa and its continued attacks against Alberta's oil sands, adding more stifling regulations, despite the fact oil sands are leading environmentally in the world with their conscious approach to recovery. We are essentially cleaning up Mother Nature's oil spill. The ground is already polluted. All Alberta's done is find a way to make money cleaning it up. Our federal government is more concerned with policies that revolve around anal sex and bestiality. It's become a greater priority than the economy. Gender neutrality. It's replaced common sense. The focus of Ottawa we hear daily now is the new word diversity. Trudeau, he's more interested in gay pride parades. That's a tongue twister. Simply because they attract more attention from the media. Media empowers them. Careless immigration policies. We've seen multitudes flooding across our borders. We have no room to house them. They're overflowing in Montreal. We know these people are going to be in the system for 10 years before we can do anything with them. And every year is going to cost us thousands upon thousands of dollars to maintain them. That is going to grow exponentially. Our military is in ruins. This current Liberal government ran on a platform of a $10 billion deficit. And once again, we've seen the Liberal government blatantly lie to Canadians as we now look at the federal debt approaching $50 billion. And they're only halfway through their term. We have some defending Confederation saying, hang in there, it won't last forever. Andrew Scheer is going to make changes. Well, is he? First of all, he's got to get elected. What if he doesn't get elected? Have you thought about that? Then what? If he does get elected, he's got to follow the directions of the GTA, or they're going to vote him out of a job. The GTA I refer to as the Greater Toronto Area. Those are the people that every general election decide who's going to be the Prime Minister of Canada. Our vote doesn't count. They're the ones that decide. And if they don't favor the sitting Prime Minister, they'll replace him. And those of you that aren't familiar, the GTA does not favor the oil sands development. And more alarming, the GTA is still giving Justin a favorable approval rating. Socially and culturally, we're different. The West and Central Canada, we're different. We're two nations that are cruelly tied to the hip. And it needs to be changed. A major concern of mine is Ontario. Sooner or later, and I would venture to say sooner, the economy of Ontario is going to fail. Their taxes are crippling and rising. The regulations in Ontario continue. Trump, on the other hand, is deregulating industries and lowering business taxes. Industry is leaving Ontario, heading back to the U.S. What's going to happen when Ontario doesn't have a tax base but still has a $300 billion plus deficit? I'll tell you what's going to happen. People aren't going to want to live in that economy. And the people of Ontario are going to tell Ottawa to do something about it. And they're going to come looking to the Bank of Alberta for cash. And any resistance that we offer in Alberta is going to create an us against them, which means the Liberal government, or maybe even, heaven forbid, the NDP government, which I don't know which is worse, will be in majority for the rest of our natural lives. That should scare people. Today we're seeing a slow takeover of Alberta. Think back a year ago to the Fort Mac fire. It was painfully slow and minimal, the federal aid in helping to rebuild the city. And now what we see is an insertion of a foreign ideology into Fort McMurray. We call it a mosque. Has anybody asked why that location? Fort McMurray is cold. These people come from a warm climate. Why is this culture being set up to be the major workforce in the oil industry, which is the greatest supplier, contributor to the GDP in Canada? Why and what motivation is there for installing a foreign culture into the heart of the greatest economic region in Canada? We should be asking that question. What authority does our provincial government have in amending this decision? I can tell you that right now. They have none. If they have the authority, why haven't they exercised it? The people of Alberta have said, no, we want our industry. There's nothing being done. We have believers in Alberta believing that a united right provincial government can alter the path of this train wreck we're on. However, they don't say how they're going to do it. We've heard them say they'll repeal the carbon tax. Here's one small example. However, the federal government says that by the end of the year, those provinces that don't have a carbon tax, Ottawa's going to impose a federal cap and trade tax. So how did we win? I've asked this question many times. I've never had an answer. It's one that they choose to ignore. How can our provincial government dictate responsible immigration? They can't. It's a federal policy. So they can't. How can it reduce federal taxes? We're already overtaxed. They can't. These taxes are going to have to be increased to meet the demands, the straining costs this immigration is going to cost us, as well as the dwindling industry in Ontario. How does a provincial government repeal the federal cap and trade tax after repealing the carbon tax? Give me an answer. I've asked for months. Give me an answer. How does a provincial government keep Alberta resource money in Alberta? How? We've been asking this for months, years now. No answer. What will happen when Ontario claims insolvency? Has anybody come up with an answer? I've posed this question to a very prominent conservative member of parliament, and they couldn't get back to me with an answer. There's only one area Ottawa can find that money needed to repay the irresponsible debt that Ontario is amassing, and that's the oil sands. How can a provincial government rewrite the federal voting distribution and bring a fair representation to Alberta? They can't. We're stuck with what we have. Who wants to cede power? Is Central Canada going to give more power to Alberta? No. Why does Alberta continue to pay a disproportionate share of the swelling debt? We pay this with no returning benefits. We just simply give money away. It's been like this since I've been alive. Why haven't these politicians done something about this? They say they will, but they never do. Don't these questions concern you? Are you okay sitting back watching your culture, your beliefs, and all you know forever be altered? We have people that say we're going to split the right. Well, my question to these people is, what power has already anointed this united party into power in Alberta? It can just as easily be argued they're splitting the vote, not us. Why don't they join us? So ask yourself, who would really represent the best wishes of the people of Alberta? The accountants and the lawyers and the politicians that, since I've been alive, have put us into ruins? Or the people and the common sense comments from everyone in Alberta? As I said, unknown decades, the lawyers and other politicians have either caused or ignored the problematic issues simply because they risk being voted out of power. Well, we have a solution no other party was willing to implement. We're asking every Albertan to at least just give us the opportunity to present our policies officially. It doesn't mean you're going to vote for us in the next election. What it means is you're open to hearing what we have to say officially. Let us speak for you. Let us earn your vote. We're not asking for your vote. We're asking for the opportunity to earn it. What do you have to lose by simply listening? This is all we're asking for. If history and experience teach us one thing, it's nothing lasts forever. Everything changes. Everything has an expiry date. Anyway, I'm going to end here. I've got too many things to say, too many things on my mind. I will be back next week. I'll be working with some of the people that have picked up the slack in my absence. Dwayne Hill, Mike Gibbons, Lorraine Kendrich up in Edmonton have all been doing a fantastic job. Larry Stadler's been rounding up the troops. Larry, by the way, as far as I know, by himself, has produced maybe 1,000 signatures. Think about this. 1,000 signatures. Certainly 700. Can you not produce your signature with your significant other and one other friend? If you could do that, we'd be well on our way. I'd like to say to saving Alberta, but at least representing Alberta the way it should be. Thank you for listening tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next week. Getting back at it. Thank you again. Good night.